Here's a question worth sitting with for a minute. What if the truth doesn't set you free? What if confronting who you really are doesn't lead to growth or healing, but something much darker? We're told our whole lives that honesty is redemptive and that self awareness is the path to becoming better. But what happens when you look inward and you can't find something to live with? Silent Hill 2 understands something most stories refuse to admit. Sometimes the truth destroys you. I've been wanting to talk about this game for a while now. I know it's been out for over a year at this point, and yes, Konami has already moved on with Silent Hill F. The franchise is getting new life breathed into it, but honestly, this remake reminded me of why Silent Hill 2 is one of the most brutal games ever made. I don't mean brutal in the way that a lot of horror games are, with jump scares and gore. I mean it in a way that forces you to sit with uncomfortable realities about its characters and maybe about yourself. A lot of people talk about Silent Hill 2 like it's some type of therapy simulator, a town trying to help these broken people overcome their trauma and walk away healed. That's not what this game is. Silent Hill doesn't heal anyone, it tears them apart. It shows them exactly who they are, and for most of them, that knowledge is unbearable. This story isn't about redemption, it's about what happens when you can't escape yourself. So let's talk about it. What Silent Hill actually is in this game, because a lot of people misunderstand it. This town isn't a place, not really, it's a mechanism. Think of it like a projector that takes everything buried in your subconscious, your guilt, your shame, your hatred, your desires, and it plays it back in physical form. The monsters you fight aren't random, the people you meet aren't just coincidences. Everything in Silent Hill is a reflection of something internal made external. But here's the thing, it doesn't judge you, it doesn't care if you're good or bad, it just shows you what's already there. And for most people, what there is something ugly. James, for example, sees nurses that moves like something sexual and disturbing because that's how he views his wife's illness and his own twisted frustrations during it. Angela sees flames everywhere because her entire life has been consumed by pain and abuse. Eddie sees mockery in every corner because that's all he ever has known. The town doesn't just create these things, it just amplifies what's real, and that's what makes it so brutal. You can't just fight your way out of it, you can't just reason with it. You're stuck in this nightmare of your own making, and the only way out is to confront it. But confronting it doesn't mean you survive it.
To their head.
You can't just kill someone because of the way they looked at you.
You should see your face, T.
In my opinion, James Sunderland is one of the most interesting protagonists in gaming history, and it's not because he's not who you think he is. When you first meet him, he seems like a decent guy, quiet and thoughtful, mourning the loss of his wife Mary, who died from a terminal illness 3 years ago. He received a letter from her somehow calling him back to the special place called Silent Hill. And despite the impossible that is, he goes because he loves her that much. At least that's what the story is telling himself. The game spends hours building this image of James as a grieving husband willing to walk through literal hell even for the slightest glimpse of chance he's seeing his wife again, and you believe that because why wouldn't you? He helps people, he's kind to Angela, he tries to protect Laura, he seems genuinely tortured by his loss. The game wants you to see him as a tragic figure, and then it pulls that rug from under you. Mary didn't die 3 years ago. James just killed her days ago, maybe a week ago. He smothered her with her own pillow. She was sick and suffering, and then he rewrote the timeline in his head to make it believable. That's the big reveal. And yes, it hits hard, but that's not the worst part. The worst part is why he did it. There's a moment in late game where you hear an echo of James and Mary's final days together, and it's very brutal. Mary is bedridden, dying slowly, and she's not the woman he fell in love with anymore. She's angry, she's cruel, she lashes out at him, she tells him to leave, says horrible things, and then in the same breath she begs for him to stay because she's scared, she's in pain, she doesn't know how to process her own mortality, and she's taking it out on the person closest to her. And James, he can't handle it. He stops visiting, he abandons her emotionally long before he kills her physically because of disease, but what she became, because she made him miserable. And in the end, when he smothers her, it's not mercy, it's not love, it's just exhaustion and hatred. He wanted it to be over. That's the truth James is running from. Not that he's a murderer, but that his love wasn't strong enough. That's when his wife needed him the most and he failed. Instead of living with that failure, he tries to erase it from his memory entirely. I thought about this a lot, and honestly, how many of us have been in this situation where someone we care about becomes difficult to be around? Where their pain makes us uncomfortable, and instead of sitting with that discomfort, we've pulled away. James' crying isn't just murder, it's emotional abandonment, and that's something way more people can relate to than they like to admit. The game gives James multiple endings depending on how you play. There's one where he leaves town with Laura seemingly healed and ready to move forward, but there are others where he just can't go, where he clings to Maria, a twisted fantasy version of Mary that the town created for him, or where he just drives in his car into a lake and ends it all. And honestly, I think those are darker endings because they make more sense. Because how do you come back from realizing you're not the person that you thought you were? How do you live with the fact that you failed the one test that mattered?
This whole town. Might be best if you just get out of here.
Yeah, you're right.
You said you took everything. But you forgot that videotape we made.
Angela's story is the one that sticks with me the most, not because of how dark it is, because of what it asks. Is the truth worth knowing? Maybe we meet Angela in a graveyard at the start of the game. She's young, alone, and searching for her mother. There's something immediately off about her. She's nervous, defensive, like she's expecting to be hurt at any moment. And as the game goes on, we start to piece together why. Her father abused her emotionally, physically, and sexually for years, and eventually she killed him. That's the surface level trauma, and is horrifying enough on its own. The abstract daddy fight is one of the most disturbing things that I've seen in a video game, especially in the remake. The way that it chases you through the nightmare version of her childhood home, the way that the only safe place is a tiny closet where a child might hide, is masterfully done, and it generally makes me uncomfortable in a few ways games ever have. But that does not what destroys Angela. What destroys her is what comes after. Throughout the game, she's searching for her mother, and there's this implication that maybe, just maybe, her mother is different. That even though her father was a monster, her mother loved her, protected her, was her safe space. That's what Angela was clinging to. The belief that someone, somewhere cared for her, and then she finds out the truth. Her mother didn't protect her at all. Her mother blamed her, told her that she deserved it. Angela didn't have anyone in her life, and when she finally accepts that, it breaks her completely. There's the scene near the end where she asks James if he thinks he can save her, if he'll love her, care for her, heal all her pain, and James just stands there silent. Because what can he really say? He can't even save himself, and that silence is all the confirmation she needs. She asks for her knife back. Her voice is calm now, empty. She's made her decision, and that's the last time we see Angela. The last time we see Angela, she's walking into a hallway engulfed in flames. And that silence is all the confirmation she needs. She asks for her knife back with her voice calm now and empty. She's made her decision, and the last time we see Angela, she's walking into a hallway engulfed in flames. For her, Silent Hill is always burning, and she chooses to walk into it. I've seen people argue about whether the game is saying that Angela would have been better off not knowing the truth about her mother, and honestly, I don't think there's a right answer. Maybe ignorance would have given her hope even if there was false hope. Maybe the truth was necessary even if it destroyed her. The game doesn't tell you, it just shows you what happens when there's nothing left to hold on to. Angela's story is tragedy in its truest sense. She didn't fail some moral test. She was just born into a situation no one should ever have to endure, and the truth of that situation is too much to survive.
I don't need you anymore.
Eddie Bombowski is a character that most people don't think about as deeply, and I think that's a mistake because Eddie's arc is about something really specific. What happens when you internalize every insult, every bit of mockery, every moment of humiliation, and realize you have the power to make it stop? Eddie has been bullied his entire life. He's overweight, he's insecure, and most people made sure he knows it. The game doesn't sugarcoat this. Eddie's portrayed as pathetic, weak, ridiculous, and when we first meet him, he's puking in a bathroom, and the framing makes him look small and helpless as possible. But here's the thing, Eddie's not harmless. He's on the run from the police, and as the game goes on, we start to see why. Silent Hill creates something for him just like it did for James. For James, it created Maria, a fantasy woman who represents everything he wished for in Mary. For Eddie, it creates a man, a bully, someone who mocks him, humiliates him, follows him deeper into the nightmare, and eventually Eddie just snaps and kills the guy. But the bully just keeps coming back. Silent Hill keeps generating new versions of him, each one more vicious than the last, and Eddie starts to realize something. He doesn't have to run anymore. He can just kill them, all of them. There's this moment in the prison where James finds Eddie sitting alone in a dark corpse holding a gun, and Eddie's talking to himself about how easy it is to kill someone, how fragile life really is. He discovered violence as a solution, intoxicating him, and for the first time in his life he has power, but he hasn't fully committed yet. He's still playing it off like it's a joke, like he's the same pathetic loser everyone thinks he is. He's not ready to let go of that identity. But by the time we reach the final confrontation with him though, he's fully gone. He's embraced this nihilism. If people are going to treat him like a monster, he'll become one. If nothing matters, then violence is just another choice. And in his mind, James is no different than the bullies, just another person looking down on him. What I found fascinating about Eddie is how much he mirrors James. They both killed someone to make their pain stop. They both took control of unbearable situation through violence. The difference is James is trying to deny what he did while Eddie is leaning into what he did. And when James kills Eddie, it's not triumphant. James doesn't feel like he's a hero. He feels like he just killed a reflection of himself, another person who couldn't handle the truth. Eddie's story is about how cruelty creates cruelty. How when you spend your entire life being told you're worthless, eventually you start to believe it. And when you believe it, you stop caring. You stop trying to be anything else. Eddie gave up long before he pulled the trigger.
We're all the same.
I'm not like you.
Are you afraid?
Here's something I've been thinking about. You control James for the entire game. You walk through Silent Hill, you make choices, you fight monsters, and because of that, you develop a relationship with him. You become invested in his journey. You want him to find Mary, you want him to succeed, and when the game reveals what he did, and suddenly you're forced to reckon with the fact that you've been controlling someone who murdered his wife, someone who's abandoning her even when she needed him most, someone who's been lying to himself and to you the entire time. That's why Silent Hill 2 works so well as a video game especially. You can't distance yourself from James the way you can a character in a movie or a book. His actions are your actions. His guilt in some way is yours too. I remember the first time I played through this and back when the original years ago, and the reveal generally messed with me because I liked James, I believed in him, and finding out I was wrong felt like a betrayal, not of me by the game, but of myself, and I think that's intentional. The game is asking, how well do you really know the people you trust? How well do you know yourself? What would you do if you were in James' position? It's uncomfortable as it's supposed to be.
I am here for you, James. See?
So here's where we land. Silent Hill 2 isn't a story about healing. It's not about overcoming trauma or becoming a better person. It's about what happens when the truth is too much to bear. When the self-knowledge doesn't liberate you, it destroys you. James, Angela, and Eddie all walk into Silent Hill carrying a lie, and the town forces them to confront the truth beneath that lie. For Angela, it's that no one loves her. For Eddie, it's that he's exactly what people said he is. And for James, it's that he wasn't strong enough to love his wife when it matters the most. most, and none of them come out okay for it. Angela chooses self-destruction, Eddie chooses violence, and James, depending on the ending that you receive, he either somehow finds a way to live with what he does, or he doesn't. But even in the good ending, I'm convinced that he isn't healed. I think he's just learning to lie to himself better. This game is special to me, honestly, because Silent Hill 2 is one of those rare pieces of media that doesn't comfort you. It doesn't tell you everything's going to be okay. It just holds a mirror up and asks, can you handle what you see? And sometimes the answer is just no. The remake did an incredible job of bringing the story to a new generation. The visuals are haunting, the performances are raw, the abstract daddy fight alone is worth experiencing. But what makes Silent Hill 2 timeless isn't the graphics or the gameplay, it's the honesty, it's the willingness to explore the dark parts of the human nature without flinching. It's not an easy game to sit with, but it's one I keep coming back to because at the end of the day, Silent Hill 2 understands something fundamental. The monsters we create are nothing compared to the monsters we already are. If you made it this far, thank you seriously. I know this one was a little bit heavy, but I think stories like this are worth talking about. If you enjoyed this breakdown, consider subscribing. I've got more deep dives like this coming, and I stream over on Twitch a few times a week if you want to hang out and talk games in real life. Silent Hill 2 is brutal, unflinching, and one of my new favorite games in the horror genre. And with Silent Hill F also being a great game that I played, I'm genuinely excited for this franchise and see where it goes next. But for now, I'm going to sit with this one a little longer. Take care of yourselves and maybe don't look too closely in the mirror. Stay safe, stay smart, and stay alpha.